Apparently booking a seat on a train is not a real booking if someone else decides to sit there. I was traveling from Edinburgh to London by train and had a booked window seat with a table. I got on the train to find 4 guys sitting at the table. The one in my seat that was clearly marked as booked refused to move as he was with his friends and the train was packed. The ticket collector passed and I asked him to help. He asked the guy to move but he refused and somehow that was that. "So what now?" I asked. "You can find another seat but I have no power to move him, only the police can move him and they will not turn up just to move someone out of a seat." There were no seats free in the carriage and probably not many free on the train, so standing to London was a possibility. I'm going to take a seat in first class, better surroundings, power sockets and free tea and coffee. "You can't sit there, you don't have a booking." "Well, you could call the police to move me but apparently they won't turn out to move someone out of a seat." I had a lovely trip with power for my laptop and a wide comfy seat.
What are obvious immediate giveaways that someone is an American? British man once told me he knew I was American because I was wearing a baseball cap backwards. Teeth. Americans are all about cosmetic dentistry and orthodontics. The ones that aren't are probably not able to easily afford international travel. So we don't see a lot of Americans without perfectly aligned, iridescent white teeth in the UK or Australia. Talking to strangers. Americans absolutely love talking to strangers, and when this clashes with the British imperative to avoid talking to strangers, I find it kind of hilarious. I quite enjoy when I see Americans on the tube in London, prattling away to British commuters who look like they are dying inside. Flip-flops/sandals. In warm weather you'll see Americans wearing leather flip-flops. As a flip-flop connoisseur, I'm Australian, I spot the American-style flip-flops a mile away.
What is your life pro tip that has actually changed your life? If you ever become homeless, KFC and Dunkin' Donuts dumpsters will feed you quite well. I survived 3 years of homelessness because of it. When viewing a home you are interested in buying, watch what you say. Cameras that also record voices are everywhere. If you ever come across someone you have second thoughts about, you can search them up on publicdatacheck.com to get a complete background report on their history. As you get older, do your best to get used to being taught things by people younger than you, respecting them for their knowledge. Don't condescend because of their age or take it as a hit to your own ego. If you have to put your pet down, stay with them. It will be hard, but they've been there for you their whole life. Don't let them spend their last minutes looking for you. If you need to cancel a hotel reservation, but are unable to because of a 24-hour policy, call the company and move your reservation to a later date. Call back within a few days and cancel for no charge. What is the biggest shock you've ever received in a courtroom? When I was 10 or 11, my mom was charged with selling drugs to an undercover cop. At the time of the supposed crime, she was at home, having a birthday party in our front yard. 17 kids and 5 adults to verify that she was there. The big shocker was when the officer gave the description of the woman in court. Blonde, 5 feet 9 inches, 300 to 350 pounds. The judge took one look at my mom and dismissed the case. My mom was 5 feet 2 inches, 145 pounds, and has black hair. The officer insisted she had dyed her hair and was confused when the judge said that was not even the main issue. The judge asked the officer to explain how a person can lose 7 inches and 150 pounds in 7 days. He was stuttering like he forgot how to speak. I noticed the judge getting upset. He called the officer a dysfunctional, incompetent imbecile and dismissed the case. Unprofessional? Maybe. Deserved? Yes.
What is the greatest comeback to an insult you've ever heard? Someone yelled out in a Walmart, "I'm not ashamed of who I am." Another voice echoed back, "That's your parents' job." I asked my mother why she always wears makeup despite being in her 40s. She told me she wears makeup so she doesn't look like me. Edit, I was 9. A guy makes fun of his bald friend by rubbing his head and saying, "Wow, your head is as smooth as my wife's bottom." The friend also rubs his head and says, "Wow, you're right." One of my coworkers was cold calling customers, trying to get appointments to drum up business. One of them told him to go fuck his hand, and he responded with, "I've got that penciled in for 3. I should be done by 4 if you'd like to come in for an appointment then?" The guy laughed his ass off, and ended up coming in for the appointment. Winston Churchill, of course. Lady Nancy asked her, "Winston, if you were my husband, I'd poison your tea." Churchill, "Nancy, if I were your husband, I'd drink it." What are you looking at? I'm still trying to find out. The classic, "You're adopted, at least my parents chose to have me." If you weren't so stupid, what would you be? Asks the husband. The wife replies, without even skipping a beat. Single. Was out with a friend who was wearing a silly outfit. Someone came up and said, "Why are you wearing that? It's not Halloween." He replied with, "Then why don't you take off that hideous mask?" Students who've had peep with their teachers. At what point did your relationship turn physical? How do you feel about it now? When I was 17 I got the chance to go to school in the States, born in Greenland, and so I had a senior year here. The English teacher had just gotten the job there according to the other kids my age. But what happened was I needed help just speaking and learning English better. So she said she'd help me out. I'd come in after school and we'd do the flashcard BS, and eventually she started asking what I thought about American girls and if I prefer blondes, brunettes, and etc. Questions slowly got more personal until she gave me her phone number. Told me to call her at 8 and she'll have plans. I was confused as hell. But when I got to her house my other head took over the thinking. P.S. If I messed up any grammar please excuse it. I didn't pay a lot of attention during the lessons. A couple I know met as teacher M and student F at graduate school. According to her, she didn't ask him out until after the grades were in. According to him, she needed an A. But it's my dad. So he's probably